All right, let's get right into it. If you're a founder, you're brilliant at your vision, you know your product inside and out, but maybe you break out in a cold sweat when you see a spreadsheet. If that's you, then this is for you. We're going to cut through all the jargon and give you a practical, no BS guide to using data to build an unstoppable company. Look, that might sound a little dramatic, but honestly, it's the stone cold truth. The stakes have never been higher. In a world with this much competition, just relying on your gut instinct is kind of like navigating a minefield blindfolded. This quote, it captures exactly why we need to master this stuff. $2.8 million. I just want you to look at that number for a second. Let it sink in. That's not a company's valuation. Nope. It's the amount of Series A funding one founder absolutely burned through before she realized her own intuition was leading her straight off a cliff. And that brings us to the story of Sarah Chen. Her dilemma is something that, I gotta tell you, so many founders find painfully, horribly familiar. I mean, on paper, Sarah had checked all the boxes. She had a beautiful product, a total rockstar team, and customers who were telling her they loved the platform. But behind the curtain, her churn rate was catastrophic. That funding was just evaporating, even while her team was hitting all their development milestones. The business was sinking, plain and simple. And here's the thing. Sarah is not some rare case. Not at all. She actually represents the 68% of non-technical founders out there, the visionaries who can see the future, but they just lack a simple framework to turn that vision into measurable, data-backed success. So why does this keep happening? Well, it's because most founders get caught in a few really common psychological traps. Let's call them the intimidation traps, because just recognizing them, that's the first step to getting past them for good. First up, you've got analysis paralysis. That's the belief that you need a PhD in statistics just to find an answer. Then there's tool overwhelm. You're just drowning in a sea of dashboards and platforms that all promise magic. And finally, interpretation intimidation, that deep down fear that you're just not going to get what the numbers are trying to tell you. But the good news? You do not need to be a data scientist to beat these. You just need a better system. And that brings us to the solution. It's a 6-step framework we call DECIDE. Think of it as a founder-friendly way to use the classic principles of data-driven decision-making, but designed for speed and clarity, not for complexity. This is how you turn being non-technical into your greatest strategic advantage. So what does it stand for? We're going to walk through each one. Define, establish, create, implement, develop, and execute. And trust me, this isn't just a process. It's a roadmap to take you from pure guesswork to unshakable confidence. First up, D for define. Now, this is our take on what is probably the most critical step in any data process, defining your objective. You have to start with the business question, not with the data. So if you're deciding whether to double your marketing budget, don't go look at 20 different metrics. Ask yourself, what's the one number that gives me 80% confidence here? Maybe it's your customer acquisition cost payback period. Focus right there. Next, E for establish. Think of this as the gather data step, but way smarter. The biggest mistake people make is trying to measure everything. Don't do that. Instead, use what we call the 3-metric rule. For any goal, you only need 3 things: a leading indicator that predicts what's coming, a lagging indicator that confirms what already happened, and an efficiency indicator that tells you how well you did it. That's it. Simple, powerful, and focused. And this isn't just theory, right? Let's go back to Sarah. We took her crazy, overwhelming dashboard of 47 metrics and boiled it down to just 3 that actually mattered. And that clarity, it immediately showed her that 78% of her churn was happening when users failed to complete one specific onboarding step. With one focused fix, bam, retention shot up by 34% in just 90 days. Let's move on to C, create visual clarity. This is your shortcut to exploring and analyzing data. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine, and get this, it processes images 60,000 times faster than text. So use that. Use a dead simple traffic light system for your key metrics: red, yellow, green. It lets you scan the health of your entire business in about 30 seconds. And this right here, this shows exactly why it works. You're not trying to become some kind of spreadsheet wizard, no. You are trying to turn numbers into a simple story that just screams, hey, pay attention to me. That's how you spot trends and find those key insights without getting totally lost in the weeds. Now, for I, implement. Data analysts can spend up to 80% of their time just cleaning messy data.
As a founder, you do not have that luxury. So the rule is buy solutions, don't build them. A simple stack like Google Analytics for traffic, Mixpanel for product use, Stripe for revenue, and a CRM. It automates all that gathering and cleaning for you. It gives you 80% of the insights with just 20% of the complexity.
The second D is for develop. This is all about developing and interpreting insights with intention. Use a simple scientific method. Form a hypothesis, like if we change our pricing page, conversions will increase. Then define what success looks like, set a timeline, and commit to a decision. And here's a pro tip. This is a big one. To avoid confirmation bias, you need to actively look for data that challenges your idea. This is where non-technical founders actually win, because you understand the business context better than anyone. And finally, the last E, execute. This is what it's all about. This is what separates the winners from the what-ifers. The rule here is simple. You act when you have about 70% confidence. If you wait for 100% certainty, I promise you the window of opportunity is going to slam shut. This is about making a decision, taking action, and then monitoring the results to see what happens next.
Okay, so we have the framework. That's the theory. Now, let's get really practical and talk about how to make this a reality, all while sidestepping the common pitfalls that trip up even the smartest founders out there.
Forget vanity metrics like social media likes. Measure active, paying customers. Don't panic over one bad day. Look at weekly and monthly trends. Don't build reports for the sake of reporting. Build them to drive one specific decision. And please, don't buy some complex tool just because a bigger company uses it. Pick what your team can actually master and use. And if you're thinking, where do I even start? Here you go. A dead simple 30-day roadmap. Week 1 is your foundation. Week 2, you build that visual dashboard. Week 3, you design your first real test. And by week 4, you are making your first truly data-informed decision. It is absolutely that straightforward.
Now, I want to end by completely reframing how you think about your skills, because this is the single most important takeaway from this entire explainer. Your background is not a weakness. It is your superpower. You are closer to the customer, you have a real feel for the market, and you have an intuitive grasp of the business. Data isn't here to replace that powerful intuition. It's here to sharpen it, to turn it into a lethal weapon.
This quote right here, it just sums it all up, doesn't it? Your company's survival isn't about technical wizardry. It's about curiosity. It's about having the focus to measure what truly matters. And it's about having the courage to act on what the evidence tells you, even if it's uncomfortable. So as we wrap this up, the final thought I want to leave you with is this. It's really no longer a question of whether this is a skill you can learn. In today's world, the only real question is, can your startup possibly survive if you don't?